This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Joining me now is John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, columnist extraordinaire. Always good to be with you, John.
Good to be with you, and I appreciate that introduction. That was a birthday present for me, wasn't it? Calling me columnist extraordinaire.
Your birthday was late last week. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
It was Friday, correct?
Let me see. Whenever December 4th was. Yeah, Friday.
Friday. All right. So really, you almost share a birthday with the Arkansas Razorbacks' monumental, significant loss to Texas. I mean, that was almost on your birthday back in 1969. That would have been a terrible birthday present.
Yeah. It was. That was 2 days after my 16th birthday. I think that's right.
This may explain some things about you.
Well, I was working that day as a busboy at the old Montgomery Ward's Buffeteria in the old University Mall, and they finally let me go because I was trying to watch TVs across the hall at M.M. Cone, and there were no visitors and there were no customers in the entire mall, so I got to go home. And the next week, I went to work as a part-time sports writer for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Wow!
I was a terrible busboy, but I was better. And the rest is long history. Long history.
It's a good thing you were so terrible at bussing tables. That's good.
They call me lightning, but they did not do so descriptively. They did so sarcastically, ironically. All right.
Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal attorney, has the coronavirus, we have learned on Sunday night. What does this do to the president's legal efforts, or maybe what does it do to the president's public relations efforts? I'll let you choose which path to go down.
Well, I can dispense with both very quickly. It does very little to his legal efforts. They're going to be unsuccessful, except maybe in small, spotty ways. And Giuliani is not the key to the success of any pleading, I wouldn't think. He's not distinguished himself lately with his legal command. So I don't think it affects what is a misbegotten and ill-fated legal battle. Public relations. No factor there either. I mean, there is no public relations damage yet that can yet be done that wouldn't already have been done by the president's utter disregard for this virus and the fact that he's having open, no mask rallies, that he's having Christmas parties in the White House, and that since his election, he's been concerned only with claiming he was cheated without attending to any of the responsibilities that are still his to lead in terms of a pandemic. So I'm sorry that Mr. Giuliani at his age I'm sorry anyone gets this virus, and I'm sorry it's happened to him, and I hope he comes through it fine. But it has no legal or public relations or political effect that I can see. Everyone around Trump has had it by now. I think it was conspicuous to be around him and not. And it would normally, and I'm sorry to keep going on, but it would normally be bad that Giuliani has gone around the country in all these state legislatures and having all these meetings with people and doing so unmasked. And one day last week telling some woman he couldn't understand her and would she take off her mask. That would all be bad PR, except the bad PR is embedded and I don't think can be made much worse or could have been made much worse.
Well, let's talk about the concept of the rigged election that the president has been crowing about since Election Day here. I was talking about it before the election, but obviously since. Arkansas legislators, if you follow any of them on Twitter, not all of them, but a big swath of them actually seem to believe the president's narrative here. They're retweeting a lot of this misinformation that's out there. I'm not sure if they believe that he was cheated or if they're playing along. What's your take?
I think you'd have to take give some truth serum to all of them to get to the bottom of that. And I think if you did, you would see probably more than half who are playing along, but a significant and alarming number who truly believe that that the president got cheated out of his due reelection. Because you get out there among the people of Arkansas, and that's what you hear. And it's what people believe. I think if you were to take one of your polls, it would be it would be a striking number in Arkansas who believe that somehow, some way, they can't tell you how, but they believe that Trump, of course, is a great man and would have won, and nobody and Biden could not possibly have won fairly, certainly not with Kamala Harris on the ticket with him. And Georgia, a southern state, give them a break. It's not so. Somehow, some way, he was cheated. I think that's a significant feeling in Arkansas, to the point that in what little I do moving around in the community, I hear it from people, and just in everyday life, they just accept that it must be at least partly true. Part of it is, boy, just wait and see. We haven't heard all of this yet, and it's the where there's smoke, there's fire. You hear that, and I think that's a lot of what's going on. Sometimes where there's smoke, it's just smoke, you know?
Yeah.
That's what we got, I think, in reality here.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that. I mean, there's not been much fact to support or substantiate what has been out there. There is little argument that we are a divided nation. You and I have been seeing this in the polling numbers. We certainly see it in the election results. My question to you, though, is who are the factions that are divided in this country? Is it Republicans versus Democrats? Or are we seeing a civil war to some respects, in some respects, within the Republican ranks?
There was a pretty good column, a full page column in the editorial section of the Sunday New York Times by Ross Douthat, who is the New York Times idea of a conservative. And he is a thoughtful conservative, but one who's, as many thoughtful conservatives can say, he's about had it with Trump. And he identifies the nuanced components of all this. And he says Democrats and liberals and the mainstream media make a mistake by just dismissing it as primitive, unsophisticated, deplorable, horribly misinformed people who are about half crazy. That we've long had. It's a great American tradition for people to sit around socially and talk about how they don't believe the things they're being told. It's just I've heard it all my life. Socially, when I was a kid, my folks, my parents and their friends sitting around. Somebody in the group is going to, around having coffee, is going to start saying that Nixon really didn't do all that, and the Democrats made it all up. You always have that. But social media has exploded it, and that's part of it. But it's not backwoods unsophisticates entirely. It's the barber, it's the cleaner, it's people you run into in everyday life who simply can't tell you what's going on exactly, but they don't trust what's happening. And there's a judge just today Trump lost another case to a federal judge in Michigan. And in her ruling, she said, I'm not sure this case, because it's so flimsy, I'm not sure it was intended to win, to produce a positive ruling from this court. I think it's just it may just be designed to erode confidence in our elections. And that's just horribly serious. To say that this country that we've all grown up in and believe to be great is a banana republic is a serious thing to foment. And that's what Trump is doing. Also, Douthat says there are some apolitical intellectuals who question everything, who are part of this movement. So it's a stew pot of American personalities, but it's a substantial and troubling number.
So do you think that the two factions are maybe those who believe in the facts that are capable of being produced and examining and verifying, versus those who don't want to know what the facts truly say?
Both. It's both. I mean, you give me these either or questions about what is definitely not an either or situation. And there are people who think that if we really could ever find out just what whoever they are, and it could be a foreign government, it could just be no account liberals or the deep state or whoever, if we knew how they wrote their algorithms to switch all those votes, and if we could get in there and see how they did it, well, then you'd know. But they don't know how to do that. They just have idle suspicions, and those exist. And they're deeply, deeply troubling. They're calling the United States of America a banana republic that doesn't have honest elections. And I regret that more than I can express.
All right, let's go lastly here. The House and the Senate here in Arkansas have their legislative committees now. The House just met this last week to put some of their members in their positions, let them draw for their positions. Where do you see the battle lines being drawn in some of the committee assignments in anticipation of the 2021 legislative session?
Well, I had a column about this a couple weeks ago that I can now update a little bit with House information. It turned out that the Senate in its committee selections, that's sort of a right-wing all-star squad of the state Senate, Senators Garner, Ballinger, Alan Clark, Stubblefield, another, all loaded up the Judiciary Committee for the reason, for the purpose of passing Stand Your Ground law, which they couldn't quite get passed last time through that committee. And also, in case, the hate crimes bill, of course, that was the main thing. Hate crimes bill would go to Judiciary Committee. And I'm told, and I wrote, and a couple of those senators on the right took ownership of what I wrote in their tweets. I'm told that they intend either to beat a hate crimes law, leaving Arkansas as one of 2 or 3 states without one, or pass one after amending out special penalties for acting on hate of gay people. That's a factor. Now, go over to the House and look at their Judiciary Committee. Do you know how many Democrats are got on the Judiciary Committee? If everything works out and all the technical stuff works out, 9. We'll have 9 Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee. People like Clowney, Tippy McCullough, Jamie Scott, Collins, good center-left Democratic legislators. There are only, how many of them in the entire House? 23, 22?
That's right.
23. 9 of them right now sit on the Judiciary Committee. And they're sort of looking around and saying, can you believe they let us get this many on here? But 9's not enough to do anything, but 9 is enough to make all the Republicans show up, and it's enough to keep the votes close and make it interesting. So I'm looking at those 2 Judiciary Committees and assuming that whatever the Democrats might get done on the House side, if anything, gets blocked in the Senate. On the governor's bill, it's not a left-wing bill, the governor's bill for a hate crimes law, or Stand Your Ground, abortion law bills could conceivably go to judiciary or public health. The point is, there are super majorities of Republicans in the legislature. By super, I mean they have more than 2. They have more than 3/4. There aren't enough Democrats to engage in irresponsible obstructionism, even if they wanted to. And I'm about ready for some, but there aren't enough of them to do it. So, in the end, none of this matters except in the process. How's it going to play? And this fact that there is a pronounced right-wing dominance of the Judiciary Committee on the Senate, and we got 9 Democrats on the Judiciary Committee and the House, and one of the biggest bills, the hate crimes bill, among others, goes there. So that's sort of what I've noticed so far.
All right. He is John Brummett, columnist with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Always good to get your take on things. Thank you so much, my friend.
You bet. Take care.
That's all for today's program. We appreciate you tuning in.